ready to make a movie. Years ago, Aidan, come along and join the party. Are we still at the sun?
At the moment, we all send signals around using individual bits of cable. It's not uncommon in an audiovisual environment that you would have a snake carrying microphones, you'd have coaxes carrying cameras, you might have Ethernet carrying data or presentations. You might even be using bits of blue cable with cute little ballons to send analog and digital signals up just using the individual infrastructure. Well, the future is coming, and the future is a technology called AVB, Audio Video Bridging. Now, I'm joined here by Harry Canters and Aidan Williams, and at the SMPTE conference we talked about AVB and what it actually means. So let's start by saying, what is AVB? Harry?
AVB is a way to have live video, have live video production over Ethernet cabling. So rather than having your SDI infrastructure at the moment over coax cables, everybody would like to go to Ethernet cabling because it's easier to wire, and you could actually implement a distributed router topology, and AVB will give you the means to do that for live video.
So I'm hearing two things. One is like the blue cable, but of course it could also be fiber or something that is the equivalent of a layer 2 and then layer 3 topology. And then also, I guess, internet protocol over the top of that?
Currently AVB is defined in layer 2, so it's not IP at the moment. And the way we also see it is implemented in probably first in some greenfield applications, like maybe if you go back, for example, when HD came along. So you had a lot of SD infrastructure, HD came along. So where was HD used first? Well, it were greenfields like an OB truck or like a studio, that would be completely HD.
And then the re-equipping happened later.
And yeah, so it's greenfields rather than upgrades. So I see with AVB that will be a similar thing. We will see probably first an AVB truck or an AVB studio, where most of the equipment will be AVB ready. The ones that are not AVB ready, so legacy equipment, probably companies like Exxon will provide the translators, so the converters to translate from SDI or HDSDI into AVB and vice versa to include that.
And this is very exciting. These are like boxes where you can feed HD signals, have them go into a piece of network fabric, whatever that is, whatever type of cable or connectivity is, and then come out the other end, and they're all still in synchronization.
Correct. Yeah. That's so AVB provides includes several IEEE standards, and one of that is to provide absolute timing in the system, so the whole system is exactly timed.
Okay, Aidan. Now you got into this, I think, because you're a musician. So you're not only the networking person, but also interested in how this works. You're from a company called Audinate, which is based here in Sydney, and you're responsible for the Dante protocol, which has now been implemented in a large number of audio devices.
Yeah, that's right. We've got nearly 100 manufacturers who are using our networking interface technology.
Right.
And it's basically a plug-and-play AV networking system that runs on top of existing Ethernet switches. It's an IP-based transport as well as a layer 2 AVB transport as well. So we provide the technology to many professional audio and video manufacturers. Primarily our background has been in audio rather than video, and so we've gotten started in the professional audio industry, but we're now seeing a lot of interest in the video industry as well.
So how is this different to a lot of other technologies that we've seen implemented this way? Like digital snakes have been around for a little while, and they're all trying to achieve the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah, I think there's an amazing number of interesting, like, build-it-yourself digital links of various sorts, and I think there's probably a couple of things. One, I think it's been very helpful to have things like AVB coming along that provide a sort of flag around which everyone in the industry can kind of gather and take forward. I think another key technology enabler has been the cost-effective gigabit networking technology and now 10 gigabit networking technology. So those, when we went from 100 megabit to gigabit, that meant that we could do hundreds and hundreds of uncompressed audio channels on a single wire. And that means that no longer do you need you don't need like an AES switcher anymore, you just have a standard Ethernet network that does it. I think video's got a lot more bandwidth, and so it's things like 10 gig that are going to really enable the ability to have many channels of uncompressed video through Ethernet.
Right. Well, now, Harry mentioned video, and you mentioned audio, but the thing that seems to me the most exciting part of AVB is that you can combine all of this stuff into the one infrastructure, and you can have a microphone on stage appearing at the audio desk, but also turning up on a squawk box, but also turning up at the camera, but also turning up on the intercom.
Yeah. Actually, there's even more to it than that, because I mean, one way of thinking about what you just said is that the network actually provides you with free splits. So often with analog XLRs, you had these boxes where you put like an analog in, and then it would create splits.
Well, it becomes the ultimate Y chord, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and you can create any number of those. And you can get to other bits of equipment, but you can also get to things like computers. So because networking is like an IT kind of infrastructure thing, there's all these, if you think about all the computer software, there's audio computer software like Pro Tools or Nuendo or any of those production pieces of software. You can get those signals now in and out of those computers directly over the Ethernet interface that they already have.
So, for example, you could have multiple cameras, and the same piece of network infrastructure would also be delivering the video and audio from individual cameras to individual recorders in an arbitrary workstation.
Yeah. Sure.
But also the control, the control of those recorders, the control of everything will travel on the same wire, and even so the timing is also on the same wire. So that's quite different from where we are now with SDI.
Because when we talk about timing, it's very important in video that the signals arrive at least close enough so that when you cut from one camera to another, you don't see somebody going on the next camera. But in audio, it's even more critical, because delays of even fractions of a millisecond can cause phase problems and problems in in-ear monitors.
Yeah, definitely. So in the audio world, synchronization is to some respects even tighter than perhaps in the video world. So we would typically, for all of our pieces of all our Dante implementations, can achieve a plus or minus 1 microsecond time alignment in terms of player on existing network infrastructure, but get even better than that if they're using things like AVB switches.
And Harry, you were saying in your presentation earlier that you could be cascading, say, 7 switches and still only have a 2 millisecond propagation delay through that, which is pretty amazing. But there are other numbers that I thought were staggering. I think I saw a number that said 100 gigabit AVB switch.
Well, that's, I mean, by going into AVB, so we are going to make use of the development speed in the IT industry. So 10 gig switches are there now, 40 gig switches currently also available. It will go to 100 gig switches that are in the labs. And if you then see how many uncompressed HD video you can move over that, so by then it could replace a complete.
It's certainly going to stress the sort of technologies we have. Look, just before we go, I want to ask you, like, what I think is a key business question. As we go to this infrastructure and we replace a whole lot of discrete cables with maybe 1 or 2 cables, and those cables are carrying everything, and the system is controlling our quality of service. So you've got 3 cameras running, you can't connect the 4th because it will overload the network. But what does that now do to professionals working in the field when, for example, a microphone breaks and you've got nowhere else to plug it, or where the executive producer comes in and says, I don't care, I want the 4th camera? How do we deal with that?
I think that's actually a key question. My background is largely in audio, so I can probably give you some examples of what's happened in the audio industry. So in the pro audio industry, people had they had XLR connectors going around the place. If one of them broke, then you could change from one to the other. And then networking comes along, and you've got all of these signals running on the one wire, and if it doesn't work, what do you do? And I think one of the key things is to have equipment and control software, like Harry was mentioning, supporting sufficient visibility of what's going on the network so that people can know what's not connected or where the problem is. So we put a lot of time and effort in our implementations in providing the kind of telemetry out of the network equipment, the endpoints, to allow people to easily diagnose them.
Right. Harry's perspective on that?
Yeah, well, currently when video or broadcast systems are being laid out, redundancy is built into the system. And similarly within AVB, I would expect people to build in redundancy into the system so that you're not nervously replacing things, but that things
And of course, a whole heap of education and training, and as we go forward, people will learn new lessons.
For sure.
Okay.
I think that really networking does have the potential to make things a lot easier, and certainly that's been the experience that we've seen in stadium installations and live touring, which are very performance critical applications. Once you have the network infrastructure in place and your staff understand how it fails or what they've forgotten to turn on,
Yeah.
it's the sort of classic thing that happens. Once they understand how to manage and deal with the normal day-to-day events that occur in those systems, then things can
So
become
it'll
very
be a matter of learning the new world. Okay, Harry Kantor and Aidan Williams, thank you very much. If you'd like to know more, you can contact Aidan at Ordinate here in Sydney, or you can go and talk to some of the people who've already implemented the Dante protocols. Yamaha and Stage Tech would be good examples of that. And you can find out more if you're in Australia about the Axon products through AV Group. Well, I hope that's an introduction to AVB. Of course, there's plenty more. Go and search on Avenue Alliance if you'd like some more information. For the television here, John Maizels. Thanks for joining us.